Hey guys, it is JetRavenEX, and guess what I have for you? I have the start of a podfic for Bakugan Dual Dimensions. So after the great review from, what's her name? Her name is Masquerade001, and if you are not a girl, I am sorry. I have the tendency to automatically assume that almost everyone is a girl, so Masquerade001 is assumed to be who I am considering a female at the moment. If you're not, sorry. But anyways, let's go with let's make this gender neutral here. Their review has made me and encouraged me to do this. We are going to start a podfic starting with chapter 1, The Plan. So, I'm probably going to input a few different things in here that were not in the first chapter, so alright. Chapter 1, The Plan. Hey Jet, are you in here? A brown-haired girl with light brown eyes knocked on her friend's bedroom door. She waited patiently for a response, placing her hands on her hips and tapping her toe patiently before she repeated the question. Hey Jet, are you in there? She waited another few seconds, and then finally she got fed up and she opened the door to her friend's bedroom. When she walked inside, she had to cover her mouth to stifle the laugh that threatened to escape. The floor of her friend's room was covered in papers, both blank and written on. There were so many sheets everywhere that you could hardly see the floor. The girl looked towards her friend's bed to see a large pile resting atop the bed. Stepping carefully in an attempt to prevent messing up as few pages as possible, the girl made her way toward the pile on the bed. As she approached, she noticed some faint hints of color through spaces between the papers. Jet? She asked, leaning forward. She chuckled slightly as the pile shifted slightly. She quickly took a step back as a girl with brown hair burst out from beneath the pile, disturbing the papers on the bed and causing more to fall to the floor. The girl, Jet, held up a paper that had a couple of math figures on it. She was panting slightly. Jeez, who knew it would be such a hassle to find one flippin' page of homework? Jet turned to her friend and gave her a tired smile. How are you, Vicky? Vicky chuckled slightly at her friend's bedraggled appearance. Oh, I'm just fine, thank you. And if you're wondering why finding a measly sheet of homework was such a hassle, perhaps you should take a look at your room, Vicky suggested, gesturing to the mess that covered the floor. Jet leaned forward to look down at the floor of her room. Holy cow, my room looks like a tornado came in here, she groaned, throwing her hands into the air in exasperation. She glared down at the papers on the floor. Then she heaved a sigh and got off her bed and began to pick up the papers and put them away in their binders, all while muttering under her breath, going to kill the person who invented homework and then... But what if the person is already dead? Vicky pointed out, walking around the bed to join Jet on the other side. Good riddance, and may they rot in the depths of hell. Vicky rolled her eyes and punched Jet lightly in the shoulder before she reached down to aid her friend in cleaning up her homework. I officially hate homework, Jet muttered, tilting her head back to chug down a cup of lemonade. Vicky, who was sitting across from her at the kitchen table, let out a sigh and rolled her eyes. Jet, you said that 1,000,000 times already. She smirked slightly and picked up the cup of lemonade that was in front of her and took a small sip. What do you expect me to do about it? Jet sighed and stared at the bottom of her cup. I bet that if Naga were to become supreme ruler of Destroying Earth, he'd ban homework, Jet muttered, placing her cup back down on the table and leaning back in her chair, arms crossed over her chest. Vicky laughed a little at her remark. If Naga were to have become supreme ruler, I think we'd either all be dead or enslaved to him. Then her face darkened slightly. If he hadn't been beaten, then there wouldn't have been. Yeah, there wouldn't have been any new Vestroia series, which would mean that Spectra never came to exist. Now it was Jet's turn to roll her eyes. You do realize that he's basically just a copy of Masquerade, don't you? He's more than that, Vicky retorted, slamming her closed fist down on the table. Jet snorted and got up to get more lemonade. She walked over to the island in the center of the kitchen and picked up the pitcher. Yeah, sure, whatever you say, she replied, pouring some of the cold liquid into her cup. I mean, first of all, he wants to create an ultimate Bakugan, he wears a mask, he has spiky blonde hair. Jet finishes pouring her lemonade and takes a sip from her cup. And later in the series, he switches sides to the Brawlers. Sound familiar? Well, he's just better than Masquerade, all right? Jet set down the pitcher and walked back to the table, a small smirk on her face. I beg to differ, my friend. After all I have said, it seems Spectrus the inferior one, and believe me, I have plenty more reasons that I could add if you'd like. Vicky glared at her, and she slammed her palms down on the table and stood up. Oh, shut up! She walked away from the table and out of the room. Jet chuckled as Vicky stomped up the stairs towards Jet's room. Meanwhile, in an unknown space, a bony white dragon with tattered wings that was trapped within a spear was speaking to a pair of figures in front of him. I cannot believe that a pair of kids were actually able to defeat you, Masquerade, he snarled, fixing a glare on the blonde boy. What do you have to say for yourself? Masquerade gave a slight shrug in response. It appears that Shun has decided he'd much rather fight alongside Dan Kuso and his friends. Although his refusal to join us is a minor setback, but one that we shall eventually overcome, Masquerade replied calmly. The mad scientist Hal G turned to him. Perhaps that is true, but we still need to locate the Infinity Core as quickly as possible. And with more of those pesky brats in our way, how do we propose to do it? Masquerade turned to him, a small smirk appearing on his face. We'll just have to find more minions then. There are plenty of brawlers out there who are willing to do anything for power. All that's going to do is increase the pirate's Dragonoid's power. If we continue to send weaklings after them, it won't be long before the Dragonoid evolves. LG glared at Masquerade. This wouldn't have been a problem had you just sent the Dome Dragonoid to the Dome Dimension like... Nog let out a roar that caused both villains to turn and face him. Enough. Masquerade had already explained the reasoning behind why the Dragonoid's existence is being tolerated. We must focus on keeping the Silent Core balanced and on locating the Infinity Core. Masquerade, what is it you wish to suggest to us? Masquerade smirked. It's quite simple, actually. If we want to find the Infinity Core as soon as possible, the best way to do that is to increase our numbers. But all the brawlers in the world would hardly be a match against the pests, Algie pointed out, jabbing a finger in Masquerade's direction. Surely you of all people should know that. Masquerade frowned for a moment, then his lips turned up into a wicked smirk. Then we'll just have to find someone who's not of this world. Alright, so that is the end of Chapter 1. God, doing Halji's voice hurts. Good thing he doesn't do much. Anyways, so while I recover from the pain I just inflicted upon my voice, tell me what you thought of it. I know I made a few mistakes in there, unfortunately. It's really hard when you're talking, and when you're talking in Halji's voice, it's kind of hard to do long-winded speeches. It sucks. Anyways, so this is just a rough draft for the podfic, so tell me what you think, if you want me to do more of it, or if you want me to redo this one. I'm completely willing to consider redoing this one, because there were a bunch of mistakes here. So anyways, tell me what you guys think, and hopefully I will see you later, or well, hear from you guys later. Hasta la vista. Hope to hear from you soon. Bye. And I lost my mouse. Let's start.